K100 with Konnan and Disco is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline is your number one source for the NBA and the NHL playoffs this season. Every stat, every matchup, and even live odds while the games are being played. When the game's over, head on over to our online casino and get in on a game of blackjack or poker or unwind with one of our over 150 slots games. Head to the website today to get in on the action. Don't forget to use the promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAD, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline. The game starts here.
Next is from Alexander. Eric Bischoff has been highly critical of Vince Russo. Meanwhile, Vince McMahon, known for being tough to work with, promoted Russo to head of creative. Given Russo's interaction with both Bischoff and McMahon, why do you think Russo got along better with McMahon than with Bischoff? Well, because Bischoff and Russo were competing kind of against each other, and Vince was like, Russo was working for Vince. You know what I'm saying? There's an interesting thing. I listened to Conrad and Eric after episode 3, and they were talking about how delusional Vince is, and Conrad and Eric thought it was very delusional of Vince to think that Goldberg was going to try and hurt him. And I felt like actually messaging Conrad, that Conrad, you should listen to our show. I mean, Konnan has a story that Bill did tell him.
You should.
That I'm going to the guy up. No, that's not delusion from Vince Russo. That's actually a true story. We about right on that, Konnan?
100%.
Yeah. So like they were getting on to him.
I don't make
about
dude.
that. I'm like, really? They'll be interested. That'll be interesting when we get Eric on for you to tell him that. You know, I think it would become that'd be a surprise.
Write it down, Joe. Which actually, let me write it down because this won't tell me.
Yeah, because he was they were getting on big. You know, because Russo. I mean, I can understand Eric, because I was there when I heard some of these conversations. Right, is after the bash at the beach. Okay, when Vince did kind of go, he went into, him and Eric and Hogan agreed on what they were going to do. They left the room. Eric and Hulk left, and then they found out later that Vince cut that promo, right? And I kind of sketchy on the details here, but I kind of remember this. That Vince had to have a conversation with Brad Siegel after that, okay? And then because the lawyers were getting involved, right? But one of the things that Vince told Brad Siegel, that the reason he did that angle with Booker and stuff and all that and everything, he said because he was telling us, he was telling the story about his conversation he had with Brad Siegel to me and Terry Taylor and Ed, we're all there, the booking room guys. And one of the things he mentions, like he was telling Brad Siegel, it's like, Brad, the guy was hijacking your show. What am I supposed to do? Like he was talking about the creative control. And like in retrospect,
well, he's not hijacking the show if he has creative control.
Exactly. So that's Vince probably, like, his intentions were trying to do the right thing going forward for the company, but did not realize, dude, you had no say in this. Hulk had creative control. That's the way they cut. That's just the thing. Like the guy literally can hijack your show. That's written into his contract. There's nothing you could do about it. You know what I'm saying? And like ultimately that's it. But Vince was trying to.
But that was probably the only way they could sign him.
Well, then they got involved in lawsuits.
That was probably the only way they could sign him. Like these athletes that if you fire them, they still get guaranteed money. Like there's guys still getting money from like 15 years ago, dude.
Bobby Bonilla.
That's the one.
So next,
let me ask you guys this, because the first thing you said, Disco, was, well, they were in competition. But knowing them and knowing both their personalities and quirks and all that, would those guys have gotten along in another setting where they weren't competing or weren't stepping on each other's toes? You know what I mean? Like, would they have gotten along just as two dudes?
Well, here's the thing: is WCW had a very unclear boss. Like Eric was like the VP, but he had to answer to people that never had anything to do with any of the product. We never saw them.
But
so it's like that's a completely different situation working for Vince McMahon, who is the owner and is hands-on. Our owners, the owners of the company, were not hands-on. Eric was. And then you're kind of like you're bringing another guy in for creative, but Eric's still the vice president. So I wonder if Eric owned his own company, could he work with Vince Russo as a writer? And if that was Vince was working for Eric, and and Eric owns the company. I would wonder if that dynamic would work. I wonder if it would.
Maybe if the relationship started that way instead of
right. Different because one thing Vince does well, he writes a decent show, like a show. Like if you do, you would see the format sheets and Vince can boom, he can knock out a show in like 3 hours. He goes to the booking meeting for 8 hours, stuff, and he goes home and sits in front of his computer, types it out, and there's the show. You send it to guys, we read it. It's like, hey, maybe we change this, maybe we change this. But Vince was very good at that, far better than our previous regime. They weren't TV writers; they were bookers, and then stuff. Go ahead, Konnan.
Yeah, I agree with you on one thing, 100%. I think, when he worked for Vince McMahon, he was working for Vince. Vince McMahon had the last, call, right? And he was helping the company grow. So why would with him?
Right.
I think when he got the WCW, there were major trust issues right off the bat between both of them, because he said on the thing a lot of times, Vince is very charming, which he is, but charming guys also have issues. I know a lot of charming guys that have issues, right?
Right.
And when I'm
a little charming. I'm not that charming.
You're not charming at all. And let me tell you this, so here's the other thing. You broke my train of thought with that dumb comment.
You were saying charming guys. Yeah.
Yeah, of which you are not one of.
Give me 2 seconds. I got to turn the air conditioner down.
Yep.
Yeah. You ain't afraid to toot your own horn, are you?
It's more.
You're charismatic, which you're not.
I mostly just want to see you swat it down.
Okay, we'll continue to do it because I will do that.
Yeah.
I like the stunner shades. Gives you a little personality of which you have nothing.
It's like they don't go with the, I don't know.
With what? With the glued on hat that you never take off and the black shirt that you never take off, except you change, probably free swag. Okay, yeah. So here's the thing. When I was looking at this is where I think there was a little bit of confusion, and this has happened to me in AAA before. And it's a very hard situation to be in. It seemed to me from watching the documentary that there was a point when that happened at Bash at the Beach, Glenn, where it seemed like, who was their boss? Brad Siegel?
Yeah.
Where Brad Siegel never really said who was in charge, and they both thought they were in charge. And Eric was like, I don't got to listen to this. And Vince was, I definitely don't got to listen to this, right? And that was a big problem, because he should have said, hey, Eric is in charge and Vince is here, or Vince is in charge and Eric is here. But that was never really made clear from what I'm seeing in the documentary. Now, looking back on the documentary, we both like Vince, but he doesn't like criticism. Bro, I just thought, all those pole matches were stupid. Him putting the belt on himself was stupid. Him being all that, the thing with Arquette. Yeah, got some, like I said in the thing, what got people talking, but for the wrong reasons. And in Penzer's book, he actually says that, Arquette really felt guilty about it because he was getting so much heat. He really thought he had hurt the wrestling business, Yeah,
I heard since he was a fan, he actually said, I don't want to do that. They're going to pull over that. I would, so I heard he really didn't want to do it.
Right. Well, he did it. He's a former world champion. I'm not a former world champion.
You know what, though?
Hang on 2 seconds, guys. Hang on.
I want to save it. I'll just say something when Dio comes back. So I wanted to say, Disco, just to make sure you're wrong, because I don't know if you were in on this or not, but everybody's critical of Vince's WCW run, and there might not be that many fans that agree with me here, but that first show that was under Vince and Eric, I'm not sure who wrote the most or however that worked, but that first reboot show was exciting. There was all kinds of going on at all times. Mike Awesome showed up, and then you had Douglas attack Flair, Bischoff turned on Hogan. Hogan gets guns pulled on him there was a bunch of DDP and Kimberly, I think, had something. The show was busy and it kept your attention, but the problem sometimes were the follow-ups.
Yeah.
Yo, what's up? I just want to thank you guys for watching this clip. Don't forget to hit the like button, leave a comment, and subscribe, and join our YouTube membership for hours and hours of exclusive, unedited uncensored content, and being a member will help you get involved in our upcoming live streams. Thank you for your support. Thank you for riding with us. I know you got a lot of other podcast choices, be it wrestling or other ones. And thank you for picking us. Boom.